Hi guys, it's Debbie. So I thought today would be the perfect day for me to do a video on my paranormal experiences as a child. So I figured today's it. I know that people are like stuck in their house and not going anywhere and just kind of hanging out, and I figured I would do this video, and I'm holding a keychain in my hand because I'm a little nervous. I'm kind of like fidgety. But I'm gonna get through this. So anyway, today I woke up and I kept seeing repeating numbers. I kept seeing 111, 111, 555, 333, which is an ascended master number. So I decided today might be the day. Maybe that was a sign from my spirit guides to do this video. Also, I got these beautiful angel cards, and I got these from the Enchanted Forest Reiki, which is located in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a beautiful store. It has candles, crystals, oils, jewelry, classes. It's an amazing, amazing store. Everyone there is so nice. I love going in there. It's zen to me. It really is. It's beautiful. Anyway, so today I decided I was going to pick a card because I felt called. I felt called to pick a card, and I want to show you how beautiful these cards are. If you look at them on the sides, they're all gold. They're so beautiful. So I picked a card and I got look for a sign. And I'm a firm believer in signs. I believe that if you're seeing something over and over and over again, that it's a message from the universe, from your guides, for you to follow what it is that your intuition is telling you to do. So my intuition today was telling me to make this video, and I'm already at 2 minutes. So let me just jump right into it. So I'm from Long Island, New York, and I lived in a small town in Nassau County called East Rockaway. I started seeing spirits when I would say about 4 years old. I would sit alone in my room, and I used to have all these dolls all around me, and I would like put teacups out, and I was a very imaginative little girl. But there was something else. I can hear and I could see. So what other people thought that I was just looking at the dolls or just maybe talking to the dolls, that's not what was going on. I can hear and see spirit, and I would use the dolls kind of as a way for me to communicate with the spirit realm. That's as weird as that might sound. I was in there for hours, and I could clearly see the spirits and clearly hear what they were saying. And I will never forget, one spirit was that of a little girl, probably about my age, and her name was Sarah, and she would talk to me. My mother would actually hear me having conversations with these dolls that she thought I was just, they all thought I was talking to the dolls. Except for my mom. Actually, my dad, he thought that I was just talking to the dolls. But my mom knew that I was talking to the angels, as she put it. And my father would come home from work and say, "Where's Debbie?" And my mom would say, "Oh, she's talking to the angels." And my father would open up the door, and there I was, surrounded by at least 5 dolls with all little teacups, and and I would be having a full-fledged conversation with them. It was crazy. But yeah, back in the 1980s, nobody ever talked about it. It was kept more hush. It wasn't like it is now, where we have shows, the Long Island Medium, ghost hunters, ghost adventurers. Back in the 80s, people were very hush about stuff like that. They really didn't talk about it. It was considered very, very taboo. But my mother kind of brought that to the forefront. She believed in mediums, she believed in psychics, she believed in witches, she believed in crystals, she believed in all that. She believed in angels and all that stuff. And she never told me that it was wrong. She never told me that what I was seeing and feeling was wrong. She would encourage that, actually. Because my mother can see and hear as well. And my great Aunt Julia, which was my grandmother's sister, could also see and hear as well. So recently I found out that one of my aunts, she has very good intuition, and she gets like gut instincts on people that normally are right. And now I found out that, oh, and also my cousin, he can see, feel, and hear, and he's advanced, like he's crazy. He's amazing. And also recently I found out that my cousin's son has been also talking to spirit. So I guess it kind of runs in the family. So with me, I would say I was a third generation. And my cousin's son would be a fourth generation, I think, or maybe fifth. I'm not sure. But it runs in my family. So anyway, so when I was about 7 years old, I started seeing lights all around people. And at the time, I did not know what those lights were. I just figured that everyone saw those lights. They would start like at the top of the head and towards the side, and they would be colors. And I remember going out to eat with my mother and my grandmother, and I would be eating, and I would stop, and I would just focus on someone and stare at them. And I would stare and stare and stare. And it was probably a little on the rude side, because you shouldn't be staring at people. But I was a kid. And I remember I was just so fixated on the lights around their heads and the lights right above their crown. And I would just stare. And I was transfixed, literally. So much that the people that I was staring at would walk over to my mom and say to her, can you tell your daughter that staring is rude? So yeah, I would just stare. And I remember living back in Long Island. There's a lot of old homes. So we lived in a house that was built in, it was probably about 1910, and it was a beautiful house. It was big. It was a 2-story home. But every night at the same exact time, when I would go to bed, I would hear what sounded like a man just walking back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth in my room. And the crazy part was my room had carpeting, but it sounded like he was walking on a wood floor with boots on. So you could hear him walking, and then he would be he would say, Sarah, look, Sarah, look, Sarah. And I would get so scared, I would pull the blankets over my head. So I thought that I wouldn't be able to hear this man anymore, but I could still hear him. And he was like walking all around my room, and I would just hear him yelling for Sarah. And Sarah was the little girl that lived in my house, and the little girl that I would talk to all the time. So I don't know if this man was like, I still believe that this man was searching for this little girl named Sarah, because he would just be yelling, Sarah, Sarah, and then look, Sarah, look. It was just a really crazy time. I just remember feeling so isolated because I felt very, very different. Like I didn't quite fit in school and quite fit in around like other children, because I was just very, very different. And like I was very sensitive, and I could like pick up on like people's energy, and if somebody was bad, like I knew right away, and if somebody was good, I knew right away. But at that time, I was so young, I didn't know what that was. And you know, it's just like back at that time, nobody, said, well, this is what this is, and this is what this is, and blah, 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 blah. So I just thought I was a little bit strange, and I really wouldn't make too many friends. I was always like by myself and, kind of like afraid to really make friends because I just thought I was so like weird. You know what I mean? But like I said, my mother, she would always try to like encourage me to like open up more and like, kind of like perfect as she said, perfect my gifts even further. And thank God for her, because like I said, I always thought I was a crazy, crazy kid, but it turned out I wasn't crazy. I consider what people that can see, hear, feel spirits, I consider that to be a gift from God. To me, it's a gift. Not everyone can do it. I feel like you can improve on your intuition, but I don't think you could learn seeing spirit. I don't think you could learn hearing spirit. I think it's either you're born with it or you're not born with it. And with me, it was just like breathing. It was just like a part of my everyday life, where if my mother took me somewhere, I could walk in that house and I could walk through it and know whether or not it was a safe place. And know, even to the point where even now I could walk in a house and I'll know whether or not somebody died in the house. It's just really weird with me. I'm just very good at like walking in homes and walking through rooms and just picking up on that energy. So my mother, she used to hang out with a lot of mediums and a lot of psychics, and she would bring them over to our house. Believe it or not, my mother used to bring these people over to our house, and I would listen to their stories. I was so intrigued with them. Like, even now, my fascination for people that are mediums and psychics and investigators, paranormal investigators, I am so intrigued. And, they would talk about, I remember there was one lady, her name was Morgan, and she lived in a really old house. I don't know how old this house was, but it was a really, really old house. And the stories that she would tell, and I remember just sitting there listening to all of them and being so transfixed and being like, oh my God, like she would talk about astral projection and crystals and just spirits and I was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I think that's why I got so open. I'm just a believer. I'm 100 billion, trillion, zillion% believer that spirits are real, because I've been seeing them since I was a really young child. So, to me, it's just like, it doesn't scare me. It's just a part of everyday life. But like I said, back then, it was not brought to the forefront. Like, people that could see, hear, and feel were known as freaks, and they would probably be locked up in a mental ward. Back then, back in like the 80s, they'd be locked up. I remember my mother, she used to always tell me, and it would kind of scare me just a little bit. She would tell me stories about how she used to see her father that passed away. And she used to see him standing in her bedroom. And she said, Debbie, I saw your grandfather last night, and he was talking to me. But I couldn't hear what he was saying. But I saw his mouth moving, and he was saying something to me. And I remember, like, as a kid, just thinking, like, oh my God. Like, that was a little scary to me. And she used to tell me so many stories that, thinking back on it now, like, it made, being as old as I am now and, being around this, I know that she was a medium. or a psychic or something along those lines. Because she would always like look at people and she would always say, Debbie, that person's bad. And I'd be like, how do you know, Mom? You don't even know that person. And she'd be like, because I'm a witch. I'm a witch, Debbie. I know that they're bad. So she was pretty much, what she really meant was she was psychic, but she didn't put it in the content that we would put it in now. And she would just say, I'm a witch. You know, that person's no good, or, you know, that person's this and that. A few times when I would date, she'd say, oh my God, he's going to do this to you. And I'd be like, whatever. 3 days later, he would do the exact same thing that she said. And I'd be like, how the hell do you know this? And she'd be like, because I'm a witch. I'm a witch. And she was. So my Aunt Julia, God bless her soul, she was, oh my God, she was the cutest lady. She was so sweet and kind, and I would have to say that she was my mentor. She was my mentor. She lived in I don't know if she lived in my grandmother's house or did she go visit. I'm not 100% sure if she lived there or if she visited there. I was very young, so I am probably wrong. So I'll say she visited that house. But she visited my grandmother's house, and she would sit in the den on this like a lazy boy chair, and she'd have the soap operas on, and she'd be rocking back and forth in her chair, and she'd be eating Dannon yogurt, and I would walk in the room, and I would, you know, just kind of watch her, and she'd say, Debbie, and I'd say, hi, Aunt Julia, and she'd say, come over here. So I used to go over to her, and she would say, sit on my lap. So I would sit on her lap, and then all of a sudden she would say to me, Debbie, do you see the lady standing over there in the corner? She has long red hair, and she's wearing a blue dress, and, you know, do you see her there? And the crazy part is I could see it. And I would say, yes, Aunt. And she'd say, she's an angel, Debbie. She's an angel. And she's watching us. She's watching over us. She's an angel. And then she'd say to me, you're just like me. You're just like me. And the crazy part is I didn't know what she meant by that because, like I said, I was a kid. You know, mediumship is my passion, and I think it's, like I said, because I've grown up around all of this, and it's just, to me, it's the most beautiful, beautiful gift that I think anyone could ever have, because where mediums to me are, they're the telephone, you know what I mean? Like, they're the telephone from our world to the spirit world. And I just feel like it's just a beautiful gift to be able to dial up, not to dial up, I'm kind of being silly, but to be able to give peace to someone that's in mourning, or peace to someone that's grieving. And I think it's just a beautiful gift. And I know that there's so many people that, you know, that doubt all of this and think like we're crazy, or, you know, we're this or we're that. But that's not the case. I believe in all this. I'm a true believer. And, you know, I think being that I'm off, being that we're all off for I don't know how long, I think I'll probably do a series. I have a lot of like other stories. I lived in haunted places. I've lived in actually probably 3 haunted places. But the one that I want to make a video about was extremely haunted, like extremely. It was freaky, like the stuff that went on in this house and the stuff that I heard and saw might make you guys' like hair stand up because it was that insane. Anyway, I just wanted to make this really, well, it's not a quick video. It's almost 20 minutes. Actually, it's going on 21 minutes now. I just wanted to say hi, and I just wanted to make the video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.